Good morning. It's Naima Singletary here with the Power to Lead. And today's topic is the power of fighting without fighting. For those of you who are here with me on a regular basis, you see I have a different setup today. And I like it. I felt like I was not going to do hair and makeup today, and that I was going to allow myself to be okay with that. And then I'm like, I'm not going to be on camera like this, so how am I going to do the show? Solution thinking, and it dropped into my mind. Well, who said you have to be on camera? So this kind of feels like a podcast, actually. So, wow, should I start a podcast in lieu of this YouTube show? That's a question. So the topic of today, which is really the theme for the entire week, is the power of fighting without fighting. Fighting without fighting. So if you were with me last week, and if you have not seen any of last week's episodes, I encourage you to go take a look at that. But last week was all about be her now. And I practice what I preach. And I was doing a lot of collapsing time and space. And be her now. And it was all about taking the characteristics of your future self, the decisions that you see your future self making, and bringing her into now. And I was doing that. And so I have a lot that I could share, and I'm definitely not going to share it all today because of time. But I do want to share one particular story, and then more throughout the week about the fighting without fighting. And before I go into this, I want to say that when you are creating a new reality, remember, you're becoming a you that you've never been before. And so it hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's weird, it feels unknown, all that. And so when you're in it, particularly when you feel lost, when you feel like, nothing's under you, you're feeling unstable, and, right? And there's these feelings of, what am I doing? And you almost feel like you want to retreat and withdraw and not follow through, and where you know you're meant to go. What I want to encourage you to think about is looking for the thing that you want, like asking the question of, what is it that I want to create here? Who am I? Right. And there'll be signature questions for you. So it's not like I want to give you my questions and tell you what to ask, because this is such a signature, unique, personal experience. But the real aim is to direct your attention to what it is that you desire for yourself. And so, because you're bringing something into the now that doesn't exist in the physical realm yet. It only exists in your consciousness. Still recovering from still integrating, really. I had over the weekend, and Thursday and Friday, a lot of recovery and integration. And so you so I want to bear in mind also, I will share this, that things are different now. Things are very different. And that's what's going to happen for you. And so the point I was making about, I'm going to go back to because there's so much to share here, but I want to really go in on this story about how to fight without fighting. And so I talked about multiple times over the last couple of weeks about my years-long war with sugar. Sugar and liquor. Liquor I got under control. But my years-long war with sugar. And I feel so blessed that this happened. So last week, it was Wednesday last week, I was feeling so like draggy, and this is nothing new when it comes to me and the sugar thing, just droggy and just not feeling good. And I found myself on LinkedIn, and I'd read, I'd saw a video, and there was a woman sharing a piece from The Art of War. And in The Art of War, it talks about when you're going after a thing, whatever the thing is, and you're looking to transform something, to destroy something, etc., to not go directly at it. Because when you go directly at it, there's an overwhelming, unnecessary exertion of energy that depletes you. Now, keep in mind, this is for those of us who are playing the long game. So this relates to us. We're playing the long game. If you're sprinting, right, different set of rules. But for those of us who are playing the long game, right, it's the efficient and wise usage of energy is critical. And so a lot is happening as I'm talking to you right now. Ooh, thank you. And so it said that when you're looking to transform something or to destroy a thing, go at it in its weakest area. Go at it in its weakest area. Now, these are third dimensional tactics, okay? I want to say that because excuse me. Because it's important to know that how to apply oneself and employ third dimensional tactics and not to. So when I was looking at how do I apply this to the sugar thing in a real world lifestyle way, not in a sprinter's way, because historically, and if you've been like me, you've done these 30-day, 60-day situations, and you've won, right? You exerted a tremendous amount of energy over your 30 or 60 days or however long, but then you come up out of it, and within, the next 60 days, you find yourself right back where you were, where you started. And this time, I didn't want that. I wanted something that was sustainable, that I could employ for the rest of my life, even modified versions of it. And immediately, when I looked at, okay, how do I employ this as it relates to my relationship with sugar, I got the idea, Naima, instead of just going balls to the wall hard, cold turkey, right? Why don't you go 3 days a week for like 2 weeks, and then 2 days a week for 2 weeks, and then 1 day a week for 2 weeks, and then, maybe just have it be 1 day a week, or just feel your way through it. And literally, when I had that idea, and then like within a 10-second, 15-second window, say, yeah, that's how I'm going to go about it, and let that happen. When I tell you I could literally feel energy and power coming back into my body just with the decision to employ it in this yielding type of way. That's another word that I think of when I think of fighting without fighting. There's a yielding, there's a more intelligent way to go about than just going at a thing. Now, everything is not for everybody. So some people might be like, no, I'm balls to the wall, hard, going at this, boom, boom. And I think there is a time and place for that, for sure. When you're sprinting, I think that's the time and place for it. I think perhaps when you are on a hard deadline, right, there are circumstances when you are brand new maybe and you're trying to, beef up real quick, So, and that's a personal choice. I've been in the game for a while, and I have pivoted and I have started new brands and built up brands and left brands and started new brands. And I'm really looking at this from like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And who am I being now to set myself up for that? So, like I said, I think it was last Thursday, I said this on Instagram, is that there's a lot of maturing. There's a lot of maturing that's required for all of us. And I was speaking for myself at the time, and I know that if it's that because it's a reality in my world, that it must be a reality in many others. So, fight without fighting. Instead of going balls to the walls, this is the message today. This is just one example of fighting without fighting and how you get power back. Because when I got that power back in that moment, like I even stood up differently. I moved through my day because I had been really, like I told you, slugging through. So if there's something that you are trying to employ sprint tactics when what you're really running is a marathon, I encourage you to look at engaging some paradoxical, because it's a paradox, right? If the goal is to get sugar out of the system, I'm not speaking for me. If the goal is to stop sugar, get sugar out of the system, and yet I'm saying, well, I'm going to do it 3 days a week, and like on the surface, that looks like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. But when you look at the long term, like really making this a long-term thing, it makes complete sense. So on the front end, it looks like a paradox. But over the long term, and with the assertion of energy, the usage of energy, because what was happening was it was costing a lot of energy to refrain from the sugar. You see? Just the abstinence from the sugar, isn't that weird? That's like, wow, that was so weird to me. I never even looked at it that way. Gosh, I swear, sight is so important to be able to see things that aren't so obvious. Being able to see things that aren't so obvious. So I was able to see that the abstinence and the amount of like force. And I'm going to make myself like using the will. And this is not to talk bad about the will. There's a place for the will. In sprinting. In sprinting. So I encourage you to examine your life. And first of all, determine if you are sprinting or marathoning. Where are you sprinting? Where are you marathoning? And be very clear about if you're sprinting, yes, it's okay to balls to the wall, use your will, be forceful, aggressive, etc. When you're running a marathon, you use those tactics sparingly because the energy required to sustain. The energy required to sustain. So that's just the tip of of what came to me last week in my Be Her Now. And I'm in many ways, I'm the same woman, and in many ways, I'm a new woman. And so I'll welcome your feedback, your questions, your comments. I'll see you tomorrow.